Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning into There is More to Be Done. My name is Anam, and I'm a psychology enthusiast. I'm here to share some simple strategies with you from the toolkit that I have created through my experiences and learnings in life for the everything is out of control, I don't know what to do moments. In this podcast, once in 2 weeks, I talk about different topics that will help you develop confidence and a I got this attitude. So let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about how to dream big. It sounds simple, just have big dreams. But it is not really that simple for people who have grown up in environments where they're constantly raised under limiting beliefs. And that's why I thought this is something I should really talk about. We have one life and we get to live it only once. And when we're younger, people ask us, what do you want to become when you're older? And we have stars in our eyes and we talk about how we want to become a doctor or a astronaut or a Tesla engineer or a firefighter. And as kids, when we say that, everyone cheers us on. But somehow that changes over time because when we start getting older, when we give the same answer, the same people start to tell us to be realistic, practical, and over time, slowly, the people around us make us tone down our audacious goal to simple, mediocre goals. Slowly, our goals of becoming an astronaut tones down to become a data scientist. Our goal of becoming a Tesla engineer tones down to a regular mechanical engineer. Some of us, very few, they don't let people tone their goals down. They get stubborn and they let the lack of belief of others fuel them, fuel their ambition. Majority of us unfortunately give in because conditional learning, the strength of the people telling you you will fail is much more greater than the number of people who are cheering you on, telling you that they believe in you and that you can do it. Personally, I belong to the latter category. I gave in to the strength of people telling me that I will fail. I grew up in a traditional Orthodox family, and I I still remember when I was 5 years old and I would watch Home Alone and I would look at all these cities that they would show, especially the New York one. And I would think that, wow, if only I can get to see that in real life. Not even in my dreams had I thought that I will be living in a city like Toronto, talking to you in a podcast that I created. But here I am. Because a few years back, I just got really fed up with others' expectations and meeting those expectations and still never having anyone be happy about it. And just really, really started to get frustrated by the ceilings everyone was creating for me. There was a kind of itch to fly. And in that moment, I just knew I had to figure out a way to get out of there. And so Initially, it was just me having this audacious goal, not even believing that it would be true. And everyone, including my lovely mom, who I love greatly and dearly, thought that I literally lost my mind. And if I'm completely honest, I agreed with her. I really did think that I was going crazy. But I was scared and it was crazy, and I had got started on that path, so I was going to see it through. And once I got crazy enough to take the first step, I just kind of ran with it. And I just thought, well, we've got started, might as well see what will happen. And I knew one thing, that no matter what happens, I'll still be alive and I'll still be able to figure out what to do next from there. So I just went with it. Over the years, with all the reading and training and all these different situations that I was thrown into, what I knew well was planning. I was just really good at planning by practice. So, planning for this move and this whole dream of mine, it seemed very unrealistic at the time and really far fetched. But I decided that if I'm going into an unknown situation, might as well have a plan and create a contingency plan so that at least I'm confident in entering into that situation. There was this leadership training that I attended just before I moved at work. And there was this one book that was suggested in the reading, and the book is called One Minute Manager. This book was great because it talked about the idea of breaking down goals into daily 1 minute goals. And I think different people process things differently. So, for some people, a big vision board, a huge, audacious goal is something that really gets them motivated, really gets them going, and their mind works in a way that looking at that, it makes sense of what they want and motivates them to believe that they can do those things and materialize them. And then there are some people like me who get really freaked out with audacious goals. And for people like me, um, I think it is like that because people who come from really humble beginnings, a lot of struggle, it's just an impossible idea. I really just never thought of being in a world where I would have the opportunity to even voice the opinions I have, talk about things, share ideas, such big goals. To have them was, in my world, really weird and something out of a fantasy. But I knew what I wanted from a very young age. And when this whole leadership training was taking place, they really, you know, worked on our motivation, and it was very good for our confidence boost. And so when I then really thought about what I want to do with my life and what kind of a life I want to build, somewhere where I don't have to worry about the future security, I knew at around the age of 16 that I wanted to be somewhere where I felt belonged and where I could see myself getting old. And just remembering that and really practically now looking at it as a goal, as something that was possible, I was able to reverse engineer and see what is it that I need to do today that will contribute to making that life happen. So, with 1 minute goal book in my hand and the newfound slightly more confidence than I had before, my 1 minute goal became to be financially stable. Because to get anywhere, you have to have some kind of financial stability. And so that was my first order of business. I started really focusing on financial stability in order to first get where I want. And once I reached a point where I realized that I'm close to reaching the financial stability goal post that I made for myself, I started looking at next steps. I thought, okay, what's next? What do we do from here? How do we start making smaller daily, weekly, monthly goals? And back then, I used to call it deadlines. Now it seems like a very negative term, so let's not use that. But goals, smaller daily, weekly, monthly goals that I'm going to be able to achieve because they're doable, they're smaller, and they're realistic. So, doable goals became my favorite. With setting these everyday goals in my to do list, it was so easy to check them off. And every time I checked something off, there was so much satisfaction. It gave me an immediate dopamine hit. And I felt like, wow, I get to decide that I'm going to do something and I end up doing it. And I get to see what all I've done at the end of the day. That slowly helped me build my confidence. And once I got to the point where I started doing this on a daily basis and started to stay consistent with it, I got into this practice where I knew exactly what my day was going to look like. I knew what I wanted to do, I knew how much time it would take. And so I was able to get more and more things added to my list and get more and more stuff done within the day. And suddenly now, these fears had disappeared. I could see those big goals, even if it was not put up on my wall, I could see those in my head and I could feel that they were not achievable anymore. That was my journey of shifting my narrative and really using the concept of the 1 minute manager series to make it functional for me. You can use it in different ways, but it's definitely a great approach to start with. I would suggest two books for sure that would really help with building habits, setting goals, and creating consistency. One is the 1 minute Manager, which is a book by Ken Blanchard and Spencer Johnson. And the second book is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I think these two books have very functional, very actionable processes that could be applicable in any sort of situations. To give you a framework and add more context, Audacious goals mostly don't start at the same level of audacity. They start with passion and perseverance. Over time, they become this beast of a dream that you could have never imagined. And that's what makes it that big and achievable. There are several books and several resources that are on the subject and that have so many different versions that might have a different take on it. But for my version, my theory of building that life that I wanted really stood on the foundation of clarity, stubbornness, perseverance, and fierce level of discipline. For me, discipline and consistency was key. It was what, in my experience, really shifted my belief systems, my narrative, gave me the confidence to see that your world can change if you wanted to. No matter what happened, if I said that I would do this today, even if it was past midnight and it was no longer the day I was talking about, I would make sure that I did it before I went to bed that day. We as humans, we like routines. Conditional learning is probably the reason that you have learned most things in your life. So, when we decide to associate a task to a time and a reward system, we function better because it's familiar and you know what to anticipate. But even with all this, we do slip into our comfort levels and procrastinate a lot when things get tough or if we get overwhelmed. That's where your stubbornness and perseverance comes in, where you need to decide that this task is essential to the success of my goal. And so I am, no matter what happens, going to do this. No matter how hard, no matter how tough, I'm going to do this. If I said that I'm going to do it today, I will do it today. And then, of course, my foundation, my favorite, clarity. Clarity to create tasks and routine for your goal plan because you need to know exactly with micro specifications of what you want to do and where you want to go. Dr. Julie Smith, a psychologist who shares amazing insights through her Instagram and TikTok accounts, once shared an example of how, if a plane is supposed to leave from London and land in New York, if it makes small little changes in its angle of takeoff or small little changes in its angle during its journey, it can actually land in a completely different place or a different country or even a different continent. I would like to apply that logic even in clarity of goals. Because, say, if a flight is supposed to go from London to New York, if it's clear on its destination and its plan, and it has created all the resources that it needs and it knows where it's going, it will get there in 6 to 7 hours. But say for some reason, if the destination is changed midway, now it maybe has several stopovers. We're going to the same destination, so to speak, but this route is now going to take more days. And for example, if you just take off and you don't even know where you're going, like there is no destination, Then you keep flying in circles until you exhaust all your resources, and then you pretty much are in the middle of nowhere trying to just figure things out and not really get anywhere productive. And so now this once shiny aircraft, it just exists without any purpose. And over time, due to exposure of life elements and that aircraft staying stagnant, it will start to deteriorate and it will eventually fall apart. I think of our life as this new aircraft. You get to decide what to do with this, where you want to go, how many stops you want to make, how many different destinations you want to go to, and plan your resources accordingly. But if you don't have clarity on what exactly you want to do with it, then it's going to be a long road. So that's it. That's my version where I start from clarity and I decide on where I want to go. And I kind of reverse engineer the process to make 1 day goals. And then I'm just really focused and stubborn as hell to see it done and get it done. I hope that what I shared today was helpful to you and that it inspires you to dream big and dream audaciously and go after it and never think that anything is impossible, because time and again we come across several stories which tells us that everything is possible if only you take your shot at it. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode and found this topic helpful. If you did find it helpful or you know somebody who might like this topic, please like and share the episode. And please follow the show on the app that you're listening to this podcast on. Please do let me know in the comment section of how you like this episode and if you have any questions regarding this topic or any other topics that I have shared in my podcasts. I'll be more than happy to answer them. For more content, you can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at There's More to Be Done, or visit my blog at there'smoretobedone.blog. Links are in the episode description below. This is Anam, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Keep learning, keep growing.